Hello, I'm Professor Justin. I'm here to teach you a little bit about Nigerian art and their culture and their history. That is one of their most famous pieces of art, the Queen Pendant Mother of Iyoba. Uh, it came from the Benin Empire time period, which ranged from 1180 to 1897. In 1897, they were imperialized and annexed by Great Britain, along with the Great Britain people stealing their art. But they did thrive when they did have their empire. Started in Benin City, right in there, by the Edo-speaking people, and then they over time ranged out in those areas. It is about northwestern Africa, but during that time period, they had a monarch. They had obas, which are kings, and they would pass it on generation to generation. They had great exports and imports. Their main exports were ivory, salt, which came from the ivory, and pepper, which were hot commodities. Some of their exports or imports would be coral beads, which they loved, and then also brass. Since they had so much ivory on hand, they had great ivory shops, made those great masks, as we'll go over soon. Actually, here is that picture once more. Let's go over it. It is made out of ivory. Let's look at the dynamics first, though. It is 24 centimeters by 12 centimeters long, which is pretty oval-like. It's also super thin. They really chopped it down. But aside from that, let's go top to bottom here. Up here, you can see little creatures. Those are mudfish. Mudfish are very common in Nigeria. They respect them very much because of their duality, really. They can live underwater and on land. I mean, it's mud, but they consider it land. And they thought that that was really cool, to show that they had the ability to do both. So they thought that the Nigerian people could relate that ability to have that duality to them. On top of that, there's these coral beads. As I said, the Nigerian people love coral beads. They thought it showed signs of elegance, this is a very elegant woman. And how do you know it's a woman? It's just a mask. You can tell by these 4 cuts right above the eye. Those cuts show their gender, and this one's a woman, which is interesting because women during this time period didn't get depicted very often in art. So it's a very powerful art piece. And on top of that, you can see these long vertical iron inlays actually that show kind of gives you like a meaner gaze. You know, it shows a little bit more power. That's because she's a war chief. She was a war chief, a mystical advisor, a queen, all at the same time. Kind of shows really how powerful she is. Also, it's made out of ivory, which shows the wealth of them and their family. This was made by Oba Isij, and this is his mother. This was paid to her, obviously, to show great respect for being the war chief of the community or the culture and all that other stuff, but also because he could not see her. With him being the king and her being the queen, technically still, they didn't want to have all that energy and power into one room, so they wouldn't. So this was like given to her as a great piece of art to show his respect to her because he couldn't see her anymore once he became king. What would this be used for? This would be used for ritual use. They would do it to shy away bad spirits. They put it on. They were very religious. They thought bad voodoo, bad energy would be in the air. They would use these during rituals, also during human sacrifices too, because they did believe in human sacrifice working, not too commonly, but they thought it must be done at times. At the same times, there is more than just one. It is believed that these are all done by the same artist. As you can see that there's 4 of them there. This is the one I just showed you, but they're spread out the United States and Great Britain because they won't give their art back to Nigeria, of course. But hopefully that shows a little bit about the Nigerian history and a little bit about their art pieces and how they wanted to reflect that they're wealthy, they're powerful, and their mean gazes show that they're strong, and how they would like to represent themselves in those manners every way with their art.